Hello and welcome. I'm Gargi Rawat. You're watching me on youtube.com/NDTV, the site to go to for all the videos and shows from NDTV. Now, every day we ask you, what are your picks of the day? What are the news stories you want to know more about? And we give you 5 top stories. So let's just take a look at the top 5 stories of today. And the top of the list is Guwahati, where the army had a flag march today. This after the violence that broke out yesterday. Remember, there have been protests over the Citizenship Amendment Bill that was passed in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, and massive protests broke out in Guwahati. The army was on standby, curfew was imposed. Also, there's been a shutdown of mobile internet services as well. And then the second story is voting on the citizenship bill, sabotage within the opposition. So that's a question being raised because in the Rajya Sabha it was expected that 105 would vote against the bill, but that tally was down to 99. 99 opposition parties voted against the bill, with 125 voting for it. So passing the Citizenship Amendment Bill after a lengthy debate in which a lot of issues were raised. Talk about the Constitution, talk about equality and discrimination on the grounds of religion. Though the government defended the bill, the Home Minister Amit Shah really leading that charge in defending the bill and trying to negate the opposition's arguments against the constitution validity of the Citizenship Amendment Bill. He also had assurances for the Northeast earlier when he spoke in the Lok Sabha as well. He spoke about how there are certain provisions in the bill to protect the Northeast regions from any impact, any changes that they fear that may take place on the ground. Remember, in the Northeast, the reasons for opposing the Citizenship Amendment Bill are very different from what is being said by perhaps the Congress or like Muslims, because while Congress and various opposition parties and Muslim groups are talking about how there's this religious discrimination as the Citizenship Amendment Bill will now accept minorities from Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh. That's 6 religions, but not Muslims. So for the first time, they have said that we will not, we will only accept and speed up the process for citizenship of the minorities from these 3 countries. So that really raises questions, because it's for the first time you're making some sort of religious discrimination in the law, and it's all set to be challenged in the Supreme Court. But in the Northeast, the reason for their agitation is because they fear that this will lead to a settlement of Hindus as well, Bangladeshi Hindus in parts of the Northeast, which has always been a very burning issue, a very controversial issue in the Northeast, where remember, the tribal groups are opposed to any sort of change in the demography, and it's been an issue that has been spoken about, argued about and fought over for many years now. In Assam especially, it's the Assam Accord that is what the students groups are talking about, that the CAB, the Citizenship Amendment Bill, will actually change the nature of that, and the cutoff for settling will be much later. 2014 is the cutoff in the new Citizenship Amendment Bill, whereas it's much earlier, of course, in the Assam Accord. Now, Ayodhya review petitions in the top court today, and that's another big story today. A spate of review petitions are coming up in the Supreme Court, and they will be taken up. In fact, the Muslim League, the IUML, has already filed a petition asking for a review of the Supreme Court's own decision on the Ayodhya dispute. A 400% hike in onion prices since March. Now, this is something the minister himself, the Union Minister for Food himself, has said in Parliament, that since March there has been a 400% hike in the price of onions. And this is a story that we've been reporting again and again. It is expected perhaps that now onion prices will go down, because remember, onions are being imported from abroad, from countries like Egypt and Turkey. So onions coming in from there, and hopefully that would bring down the price of onions. Also, the 5th story is air quality severe in Delhi, Haryana and Bihar. Now, after several days of poor air quality in the national capital region, it has gone into the severe category once again. And this time we cannot blame farm fires, because the farm fires in Punjab and Haryana are all over. So this is our very own mess, or the very own crisis that is taking place with the pollution in the severe category again, and in many cities across the north. And this is because of lower temperatures and also very still air. There are no wind, so the pollution is just staying in the air and increasing, and that is why once again air quality has gone into the severe levels. So let's just take you through what's happening on the Citizenship Amendment Bill. And as we said yesterday, there were protests in various parts of Assam, in Guwahati as well, where people took to the streets. Now, before this, also there have been massive protests in Assam, over this, but they had remained peaceful for the last couple of days. But now what we saw yesterday was suddenly it all changed. The nature of the protest changed and people really took to the streets in huge numbers and violence broke out. Cars were set on fire. The security was in the streets. Tear gas was also used. And in fact, the army, in the day yesterday, the army was on standby. But this morning, the army has come out and conducted flag marches in Guwahati. This has caused disruptions in flights, disruptions in trains. Many people are stranded. In fact, my colleague Ratnadeep Chaudhary was reporting on this violence, and he too had a bit of a narrow escape or a very close encounter with the protesters, where mob mentality had really taken over, and they were almost very rough with him. But fortunately, he did manage to escape unscathed. But these protests and these clashes with the police went on till 3 in the morning. So this is something that's being talked about even as a failure of intelligence. How did authorities not realize things could go so out of hand? You had massive protests outside the assembly in Guwahati. The chief minister himself was stuck at the airport for several hours because of the protests that were taking place, and several vehicles set on fire. Now this morning there have been, there you can see the vehicles set on fire. This all took place last night. There are reports of violence in Tripura as well. Remember, that's the other state that has seen a bit of a lockdown and, in mobile internet being suspended, SMS is being suspended. 2 army columns have been deployed in Guwahati, and they're carrying out these marches in Tripura as well. There are, marches that have been carried out. Army personnel have been deployed in Tinsukia, Dibrugarh and Jorhat districts. Now, this is despite, assurances, as I said, from the Home Minister. And in fact, even today, there are reports that people are defying the curfew and coming out to protest over this Citizenship Amendment Bill. And it's so serious, the situation. Remember, the Northeast, most of the states there are run or are in alliance with the BJP. And the BJP are really worried about the situation. Now, the Prime Minister has actually come out with 2 tweets on the situation, and he has tried to again calm down the situation by saying, I want to assure my brothers and sisters of Assam that they have nothing to worry after the passing of the CAB, the Citizenship Amendment Bill. I want to assure them no one can take away your rights, unique identity and beautiful culture. It will continue to flourish and grow. Now, this is because the government has made certain provisions for this areas which have inner line permits. That's areas which are more for kept protected because of the tribals in the region, and that applies to some of the other states. But in Assam, you don't have too many areas with inner line permits, etc., and that is why there's a lot more agitation being seen in Assam, because it's being seen that once this bill is passed, once it's a law, then it will see more people from outside coming and settling and getting rights to settle in Assam. So it remains to be seen what happens next. There was to be a summit, an Indo-Japan summit in Guwahati on the 15th, and there are reports that even that the government's having a rethink, because Shinzo Abe was supposed to be there with the Prime Minister, and yesterday's stages and placards and billboards that had been put up talking about that summit were actually burnt by the protesters. So possibly that is going to have to be shifted out. As I said, my colleague Ratnadeep Chaudhary was also had a very close encounter with the protesters, and he even suffered from bruises on his face, and also the windshield of our press vehicle was smashed, and this took place last night at around 8 o'clock when they were reporting at the Assam Secretariat, and they were on their way back, and they were stopped by a group that actually wanted to set NDTV's car on fire. So a close escape for Ratnadeep Chaudhary there, and hopefully the situation will calm down. As I said, the other big story today is the hearing of petitions asking for a review of the Ayodhya verdict in the Supreme Court. A 5-member Supreme Court bench headed by the Chief Justice had given that verdict earlier in November, and now you have a number of petitions, that's 18 in all, asking for a review of that decision, and this will be decided in chamber and not in open court. So that's the other big story to watch out for during the course of the day. Well, that's all the time we have for right now. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.